Have you at any point been in a warmed contention, feeling like you're going to detonate? We've all been there, whether it's a conflict in the workplace, a battle with a friend or family member, or a warm discussion on the web. In any case, consider the possibility that I let you know there was a method for exploring struggle without utilizing clenched hands metaphorically, or in a real sense. The old Stoics bosses of profound control and reason have fantastic techniques for confronting your foe with beauty and balance. In this video, you'll find 13 indifferent motivated procedures to handle struggle head-on, drawn from the insight of extraordinary scholars like Seneca Epicus and Marcus Aurelius. Trust me that these techniques may require more tolerance and exertion than tossing punches, yet the prize is inward harmony, enduring arrangements, and possibly changed connections are certainly worth the work you are doing as well. Prepared to figure out how to explore struggle like a genuine emotionless, make sure to stir things up around town. Buy-in button and the notice ringer, so you can see every one of the recordings on confronting life's difficulties with the immortal insight of aloofness. Recollect your biggest triumph lies not in outside fights, but rather in dominating your psyche and heart. Number 1, dig into the profundities. 1. Dig into the profundities of your foe. Of your foe, say you are at the edge of an enraged waterway. The rapids frothing and beating with rage, a judicious unemotional would stop before making a plunge, and his eyes zeroed in on the undetectable profundities beneath. Instead of the stirring surface entering your adversary's mind are the hooligans of the primary indifferent strategy, to put it figuratively. The force of the circumstance makes it enticing to act rapidly. Anyway, legitimate perception requires setting to the side judgment and looking over the evident surface of the issue, as epic status reminds us at the point when he says, not the actual occasion inconveniences us. Yet our perspective on it, this is the way to begin this assessment of emotionlessness and the advantages of delivering step away from the present. Breathe in profoundly and intellectually, work out and analyze the conditions with impartial interest. Put you as a secret eavesdropper also. Notice the trade impartially. This profound partition empowers more inside and out perception and more coherent thinking research. Their why presents genuine questions, as opposed to thinking of counter-arguments focuses on learning the why basics of their proclamations and ways of behaving, what drives them, what concerns them, and what they need. What life occasions have impacted their perspective. Point significant bits of knowledge can be gathered by posing unconditional inquiries. For example, what carried you to this point for sure? Are your hidden worries inspected from their perspective, not understanding, but rather compassion? Attempt to imagine their perspective, to fathom their viewpoint, not to help their way of behaving. How should they see the conditions? What standards and convictions persuade them? This movement plans to foster compassion and find potential marks of understanding. Furthermore, they experience the world through their eyes, as opposed to concurring with their look. For the mystery-rivered analyze what's underneath the surface. Struggle regularly results from more profound issues, like unfulfilled cravings, fears, or wounds from the past. Think about looking past the ongoing contention and pinpointing the hidden problems causing the contention about what maintains that need. Should be satisfied. Which fears are surfacing? Review that this is a quest for seeing, as opposed to supporting their conduct. Your goal is to fathom the layers of involvement and point of view that impact the demonstrations of your rival, very much like a geologist concentrates on the layers of rock to comprehend the landscape you can view as unseen shared view. By rehearsing this apathetic profundity, looking for a method, and you may likewise learn significant things about yourself in your responses. The once seething waterway will turn into a karma stream with understanding and potential goals engraved in its stones. 2. Pick your fights admirably. Admirably, conflicts have large amounts of life, going from political contentions to contentions in parking garages anyway. As the Stoics let us know, just a few stones in the way require our entire center to engage in each question, regardless of how minor, can break us down sincerely. Hence, the second indifferent strategy urges us to pick our fights cautiously and envision ourselves before a tremendous milestone. Each contention and disputed matter can turn into a struggle. A reasonable indifference would stop assessing every landscape cautiously previously jumping into the face. Is the conflict worth the effort in this engagement? Will it influence my well-being or the fundamental things to me? The accompanying precepts of the indifferent way of thinking will help you in choosing your fights at the scenic test. Stop and consider Seneca's astute words. The best solution for outrage is to delay and help yourself to remember the significance of stopping bring a second to quiet down before answering. Naturally, take a please step back and assess the conditions impartially. It's normal for the intensity of the second to twist our discernment by pursuing judicious choice testing. Is the epic using inquiry is still significant? Think about the accompanying vital inquiry for yourself. It isn't simply the occasion that braids out, however our perspective on it epic two's expressed. Is there a certified effect this discussion is having on your ethics, prosperity, or something significant in your life? Or is it simply a small, bothering a stone in the street, rather than a mountain to be vanquished by focusing your endeavors on truly critical issues? You can address them with more noteworthy viability and center. The Marcus Aurelius guideline calm can be advantageous now and again, recognizing that the force of giving up and not choosing everything is many times the best game plan as indicated by Marcus Aurelius. It is much of the time to the point of holding your tongue and letting things pass, essentially overlooking little insults or ruling against getting into silly contentions can be inconceivably self-controlling ways to keep up with your inward quiet. The money-saving advantage investigation of emotionlessness. Investigate the benefits and burdens each contention has a cost as to exertion and potential results. Think about the logically profound expenses of losing the conflict with the possible prize of winning. Is the expense of win supported? The most flawless sort of solidarity is now and then knowing when to surrender for review. Choosing your fights decisively doesn't suggest shortcomings or apathy. It's tied in with acknowledging how restricted your significant investments are and utilizing them carefully. By applying this indifferent information, you might explore life's front line more centered and save your solidarity for the minutes that matter. 3. Talk with quiet and clearness. Number 3. Talk with quiet and clearness. Envision yourself confronting your adversary with your words, ready for war, as opposed to your weapons drawn anyway. The unemotional methodology underlines quiet clearness, which makes the way for a more useful talk, as opposed to yelling affronts and allegations. This strategy, which draws from the knowledge of unemotional scholars, for example, Seneca is fixated on sufficiently communicating your requests and worries to advance comprehension and decrease aggression. Coming up next are the primary parts of correspondence that draw motivation from apathy. Foster your undivided attention. Abilities go past essentially holding back to talk and give close consideration to what your adversary says prior to offering your own. If it's not too much trouble, give close consideration to them both. With words and nonverbal communication, don't hinder gestures shrewdly and keep in touch. This shows that you value them and grasp what they're saying, regard their feelings and approve their encounters with compassion, not arrangement. Regard their sentiments and encounters regardless of whether you differ in explanations like, "I comprehend you're feeling disappointed," or "It seems like this present circumstance is essential to you," can help lay out affinity and raise any concerns you might have with I proclamations. Consider your perspective as opposed to finding fault. Use I words to impart your necessities and sentiments instead of basic proclamations. You continuously do these instances of such proclamations. Incorporate, "I really want to feel regarded in this present circumstance, and I feel hurt when you." This decreases protectiveness furthermore. Advances a more group-situated way to deal with critical thinking talk immovably. What's more, tranquility instead of forcefully control, not clamoring, makes serious areas of strength for one, up to guarantee you comprehend, not on the grounds that you're furious. Keep a formed tone while talking with strength and affirmation. Avoid affronts and individual attacks. They will just make the issue more regrettable. Put taking care of issues first, not focuses. Look for arrangements instead of triumphs. Recall that the goal is to devise an answer that benefits both of you, not to win the conflict. Start the conversation with an inquiry. like what can we do to address this together, and base it on helpful, critical thinking and how might we come to a commonly pleasing outcoming review that rehearsing quiet, clear spee is an essential expertise, assuming that you commit an error. Try not to be frightened, to apologize and have persistence with yourself. Exploring even the most troublesome errands will get simpler the more sure. Correspondence you lock in. 4. Look for the common way. Envision a couple of alpinists climbing apparently particular pinnacles anyway. As they climb, they become mindful that their individual ways meet and lead to a common highest point where understanding will sparkle. This illustration is particularly relevant to the 4th strategy on our non-fierce excursion looking for the common street. It addresses the unemotional idea of Una living together as one with the normal request, despite the fact that conflict every now and again gives the feeling that our beliefs or desires are contrary. The Saint Stoics urge us to look beneath the surface and find the more profound flows that tight spot us despite the fact that they could not seem fundamental at first. By focusing on these normal interests, we can make a system for collaboration and compromise. 6. Utilizing humor carefully in compromise. Compromise. Envision yourself strolling a tight rope that is extended over a vast opening. A slip-up can send you into the profundities of a wall, yet humor can help you stay upstanding like an adjusting post. Utilizing humor to determine struggle is the pith of the 6th emotionless procedure embodied in this nuanced representation. There is no rejecting that chuckling can lessen pressure and encourage a more open environment for conversation. A very much coordinated joke or energetic Dior can act as a strain discharge valve, permitting understanding to thrive and relinquishing repressed disappointment. The indifferent savant Sena says a jokey is something delicate, and a guest might transform into an affront. We should utilize parody with conscious wariness to understand its completely conceivable outcomes. Here are a few rules to assist you with easily exploring the comedic tight RPP. Perceive your crowd just some track down. Exactly the same things entertaining. So think about your adversary's humor style and character before you tell a wisecrack what entertains them, as they would like to think which subjects could be fragile. Be mindful and err on alert while making jokes, since something that plays well with one individual might irritate one more. Search out quiet bliss, not horniness. Chuckling at not with making a common funny bone is the point, not involving jokes as a device to ridicule or criticize your rival. Humor that puts down oneself is much of the time a more secure bet, since it exhibits modesty and a preparation to take ownership of missteps. The timing is pivotal subsequent to perusing the room. Rehash. Humor can have awful outcomes when abused prior to getting parody. Survey the circumstance's personal force. It's smarter to hold on until things have settled down, assuming the strain is as yet strong. Keep up with quiet and graciousness. Keep abuses and mockery at the entryway. Avoid jokes that downplay delicate subjects, generalizations, or individual attack. Sal's review that building extensions, not consuming them, is the point parody as an instrument, not a bolster. Kindly don't depend on parody alone to end the contention. In spite of the fact that humor can be a useful device, it shouldn't supplant true correspondence or managing basic issues. Don't anticipate that it should be the phenomenal fix. Use it sparingly to advance receptiveness and ease up the air. Generally err on of mindfulness. If all else fails, it's smarter to keep away from jokes altogether, to decide if they're fitting review. That it's less complex to acquire trust than to recapture it. Following a mistake, including satire, utilizing these indifferent thoughts, parody might turn into a compelling apparatus for affinity, developing pressure alleviation and opening more phenomenal space for struggle goal, as opposed to a hazardous tight RPP walk review. That the force of giggling is in its ability to join as opposed to partition. When utilized fittingly, it can transform tense circumstances into opportunities for understanding and goal. This may shock you. Number 7, Proposition 7. Offer compassion. Compassion. Imagine yourself on a harsh mountain trail, gazing over a hole at an individual climber who who is by all accounts going the alternate way, their disturbance and fury pop through the valley like a windstorm, as opposed to heaving contentions across the vacuum. The emotionless methodology would be to plunge step by step, overcome any barrier, and expand a comprehension hand. This is the center of the seventh methodology. The emotionless guideline of communicating compassion sympathy is an important device for settling clashes genially in any event. During warmed contentions, as Marcus Aurelius suggests, we can make certifiable associations and make the way for a more productive discussion by recognizing the other individual's feelings and approving their encounters. This is the way you foster this superpower of apathy. Change the viewpoint from me to them, see the world through their eyes, attempt to understand what is happening according to their perspective instead of focusing simply on your own. What life-altering situations have affected their feelings? What insecurities or concerns could rouse them? This alter in context energizes sympathy and empowers you to perceive their particular reality. Focus on the above words. Pay attention to the words not expressed. It's fundamental for focus on both verbal and non-verbal signals while speaking with others. This incorporates things like non-verbal communication manner of speaking facial articulations and expressed words. It is crucial to grasp the data being communicated and respond likewise. These often unveil more profound sentiments that their words might have clouded attempt to comprehend, while effectively tuning in without condemning. Perceive, don't pass, judge, value their feelings instead of their conduct. Regardless of whether you can't help contradicting them, let them in on you know about and thoughtful to their sentiments. I comprehend the reason why this present circumstance is critical to you, or it seems like you're feeling baffled are phrases that can altogether increment trust furthermore. Decline protectiveness. Search for the secret aggravation track down the wellspring of the conflict. Outrage and aggravation are regularly the consequence of more profound, close-to-home scars. Look into any possible causes of torment, dread, or frailty for them. A more profound understanding makes it conceivable to address the basic reason, instead of essentially the side effects it additionally assembles. Sympathy review that appreciation isn't understanding, walk alongside them, not before them. Showing sympathy doesn't suggest embracing their way of behaving or forfeiting your ethical standards. It's essentially as basic as perceiving their perspective and laying out a climate empowering genuine discourse. You can deal with the conflict with poise and seeing regardless of whether you differ. You make an extension of seeing as opposed to just a scaffold across a chasm of contention when you embrace this emotionless idea of sympathy. You come at the situation from their perspective to associate as opposed to condemn. And there's potential for genuine gold in that association for the present time and place, as well as for how you manage each other, pushing ahead so descended from the mountain connect and give the endowment of compassion together. You may be taken on a surprising journey. Number 8. Embrace the craft of give and take. Huge oak tree, its branches willfully waving in the breeze. It could take a ton of power to get the oak to adapt to your will, which could hurt the tree. A more reasonable procedure that draws from apathetic way of thinking is learning the craft of give and take, bowing what's more, adjusting to track down a wave for the breeze and the oak to coincide calmly. Hard perspectives and absolutes are seldom helpful for fruitful struggle. Goal Epictetus states, look for not to have things occur as you wish yet. Maybe wish them to occur as they do, and you will carry on with a serene life. The capacity to find response to that unquestionably somewhat meet your concerns and those of your rival is an indication of valid power coming up next. Is the way you can rehearse this apathetic craftsmanship change me too? We re-examine the contention as a helpful undertaking. Consider what is going on to be an opportunity to devise an answer that works for everybody as opposed to as a competition. This adjustment of viewpoint permits for additional amicable outcomes and inventive ways to deal with critical thinking. Recognize normal targets, search for shared belief regardless of whether it seems dark. Analyze your common objectives over the long haul and see past the ongoing contention, perhaps. You both have similar qualities, decency, regard, or a useful working climate. Finding these normal targets lays the preparation for arriving at a compromise set needs, and have the will to give up just a few subtleties. Matter similarly, as it were, a few elements of the conditions merit biting the dust, for conclude what is most significant and be ready to give in on less significant things. This empowers you to focus on distinguishing answers that arrangement with your main pressing concerns, decide the success enough or mutual benefit arrangement, search for shared benefit. Arrangements rather than zeroing in on a success for one party attempt to find an answer where all gatherings feel their prerequisites are perceived and to some degree met in the drawn out. This decreases enmity and advances a sensation of equity review, that life is an excursion as opposed to an objective. Tolerance and adaptability are key trade-offs, are seldom a one-time thing. Be prepared to survey the understanding in the event that something changes or new data opens up a strong split. The difference requires open correspondence and a preparation to change. Tolerating the indifferent craft of give and take watches out for your requests and standards. Instead, you show strength, flexibility, and a commitment to concocting arrangements that work for everybody. You comprehend how to live in a unique balance condition, not obstruction, like the breeze and the oak, which benefits everybody by achieving a more peaceful and agreeable. 9. Look for an outer guide without disgrace. End number 9. Look for outer guide without disgrace. Imagine yourself messed up in a brush of thistles, the branches obstructing your way as they turn and whirl, regardless of how enthusiastically you attempt. Headway feels out of reach, this irritation. Every now and again looks like the feeling of being caught in a question where correspondence separates and a settlement appears to be unthinkable anyway. The Stoics advise us that we are in good company. Even in these circumstances, the 10th strategy emphatically underlines requesting outside help as proof of our devotion to fashioning a positive game plan, instead of as a demonstration of shortcoming. A middle person or instructor, for instance, can act as an unprejudiced outsider party to help explore the intricate labyrinth of contention. Similarly to an indifferent logician drives their understudies towards information. They can offer a controlled climate for conversation, ensuring that each side is heard and esteemed. Their insight can be useful advancement. The confounding correspondence killing the profound. Undergrowth, compelling feelings often hinder our capacity to impart, making it challenging to get a handle on the perspectives of others or to account for oneself. Obviously, by assisting with unraveling these close-to-home hitches, a fair-minded third individual can encourage a more loose and useful conversational climate. Conquering the separation makes a scaffold of understanding. Advocates and go-betweens are taught to perceive and help parties in struggle close their insight holes. They can advance compassion and reduce protectiveness by helping each party in seeing things from the perspective of the other, empowering productive discussions. Driving the conversation toward goal-able facilitators can direct the conversation toward valuable issue settling, ensuring that all sides can voice their concerns and participate to find answers, offer assets and strategies, preparing you for the excursion. Numerous advocates and go-betweens have gotten particular preparation in compromise and specialized techniques over the long haul. They can help you fabricate more grounded connections by furnishing you with the abilities and procedures you want to deal with. Clashes later on review that requesting help is a strength, not an indication of shortcoming, yet of astuteness, as indicated by apathetic way of thinking. Requesting help is a showcase of shrewdness instead of shortcoming. It shows that you are devoted to fostering an answer that works for everybody and is ready to put resources into your turn of events, and the organization's accomplishment by enrolling outside help you can profit from the information and the ability of others, permitting you and your rival to haggle effectively the intricate labyrinth of questions and show up at a quiet and useful end review that at times getting help can light up the far ahead and advise you that you are not the only one, even in the most difficult conditions. 10. Pardoning. Envision yourself secured to a huge stone, its mass pulling you descending while its rough edges puncture your tissue. This weight, which keeps you trapped previously and and makes it hard for you to go on is the heaviness of hatred, and pardoning, a gift to oneself, is an intense device, the emotionless way of thinking offers for delivering these bonds. Neither the past nor the other individual's way of behaving is legitimate by pardoning. We are reminded by Seneca that he who is vindictive lives with a twisted, consistently open. Rather, pardoning is a conscious choice to relinquish the put in an awful mood that keep you stuck so you can happen with additional lucidity and true serenity. This is the way to begin this self. Freeing indifferent excursion, divert the consideration from them, till you recognize the impact on your well-being. More mischief comes about because of clutching outrage and disdain than from the other individual. It channels your imperativeness, debilitates your judgment, and makes it more challenging for you to be content and settled. You can assume back command over your state of mind and put your prosperity first at the point when you pick a pardoning. Perceive the impact of viewpoint, inspect the conditions all the more comprehensively. Absolution sometimes requires understanding the foundation and aims of the other individual. This is conceding their deficiencies and weaknesses rather than supporting their activities. This difference in perspective could increment compassion and diminish what is happening's close to home effect. Let go. However, recall, let go of the past, not the recollections. Being excused does exclude failing to remember the past. Rather, it involves relinquishing the awful sentiments associated with it. Review the illustrations you've learned, be that as it may. Let go of the things overloading you like disdain and contempt. Lock in dynamic pardoning. Recall that absolution is a non-stop cycle. Kindly, but try to broaden it. An excursion needs consistent devotion. You can rehearse dynamic pardoning by deliberately relinquishing ominous sentiments and contemplations at whatever point they surface. Strategies like journaling care and reflection can be useful. Devices in this cycle, keep in mind that pardoning is yours, a present for you. Not. For them, pardoning is eventually a gift you provide for yourself. It liberates you from the obligations of pessimism and gives you more happiness, quiet, and profound adaptability. Pardon yourself as opposed to trust that the other individual will acquire it. Tolerating profound pardoning permits you to change your present and make space for a superior future. Instead of delete the previous, you decide to walk the street of harmony and self-sympathy, setting yourself free from the obligations of harshness and outrage. Review that showing absolution exhibits your solidarity and commitment to your prosperity, not shortcoming. Hence, breathe out profoundly, let go of the weight and advance into a future contribution to more freedom. What's more, internal serenity. 11. Development from cinders of contention. Struggle is considered a phoenix that has gone through struggle and developed further, and WI is the soul of the 11th unemotional system, involving struggle as an impetus for self-awareness, is typified in this powerful similitude. Recollect Epictetus' recommendation to utilize what is in your power and accept the rest as fixed and outside of your reach. Through contemplation and self-assessment, you can transform conflict into a learning and open door. What's more, a springboard for self-improvement is the way to begin this extraordinary experience. Embrace a learning demeanor. See obstructions as any open doors. Change your outlook from seeing struggle as something terrible to see it as a chance to create, and learn to be open to investigate your activities and deficiencies and move toward the circumstance with a receptive outlook to make your unearthing you or distinguishing. Recognizing the basic makes give a cautious idea how you fit into the contention, what compelled you to respond, how you did, which standards or convictions was what was happening in conflict, with which sentiments became predominant, and how could they influence your activities. Earnestness is urgent in grasping your propensities and triggers. So consider these inquiries cautiously and decide feasible spaces from thought to execution. Don't allow reflection to get you down. Convert your perceptions into noteworthy ideas for upgrade. Did you want assistance imparting successfully? Contemplate sharpening your undivided attention procedures. Were your sentiments excessively solid? Explore care practices to further develop profound control and look for direction. Furthermore, analysis gained from solid coaches. Search for a reliable companion advisor or tutor who can support your self-improvement and give impartial info. Conversing with an outsider about your encounters and observed tons could assist you with seeing things contrastingly and advance an obligation review. That development is a system of tolerance. Expect a slow change. Self-awareness requires work and time. Stay committed to your ceaseless improvement. Perceive disappointments as showing minutes and celebrate in nearly nothing achievements. Embracing this emotionless way of thinking might divert conflict from a destructive power into a strong impetus for self-disclosure and helpful change. You are re-established from the remains and rise up out of them, more vigorous, smarter, and ready to confront deterrence head-on with balance and coarseness. Review that you can learn and create, and that even the most difficult conditions can act as venturing stones to turning into the best adaptation of yours. Balance and coarseness. Review that you can learn and create, and that even the most difficult conditions can act as venturing stones to turning into the best adaptation of yourself. 12. Defining limits. Imagine yourself with the waves delicately crashing at your feet as you stand on a flawless oceanside hold. On somebody is attacking your own space and disturbing you. Setting limits and guarding your prosperity and internal serenity are powerful devices. The 12th emotionless strategy offers in this situation, representing the sensitive voting form of exploring entomb activities. It isn't the actual occasion that troubles us. Utilize yet our perspective on it. Epicus reminds us, in spite of the fact that we have zero power over what others do, we impact how we respond by characterizing what we will and will not endure. We might protect ourselves against cynicism and advance more joyful connections by laying out clear limits. This is the way to apply this apathetic thought here. Practically speaking, grasp your internal direction, decide your prerequisites and values, consider what makes the biggest difference previously, laying out limits, which activities are predictable with your qualities, which ways of behaving cause you to feel low on energy, or disregard your own space. Laying out these inside limits lay the foundation for compelling correspondence, impart deferentially and clear. Obviously words, not walls. Avoid vague explanations and latent forceful conduct. Use I expressions to decisively and straightforwardly convey your limits while focusing on your needs. And that's what sentiments review. Developing collaboration and understanding requires well-mannered correspondence. The mystery is consistency is imperative. Once you put off limits, be relentless. Like a beacon, never yield to coerce, or then again, keep away from struggle by making special cases. You gain regard from others and show limits. Which activities are predictable with your qualities? Which ways of behaving cause you to feel low on energy or disregard your own space? Lying out these inside yourself. Regard by adhering to your limits. Prepare for resistance. Perceive that not every person will be able to your limits and set yourself up for conceivable opposition by considerately rehashing your situation and focusing on the fact that it is so critical to respect your prerequisites. Review all that limits give you power. Taking care of oneself is the way to opportunity. Laying out limits is important to protect your psychological and close to home well-being. Not to be childish, you can set a climate where you can develop by safeguarding your space and energy, which lines up with Seneca's objective of living with a lively heart and a thankful demeanor. Embracing this indifferent, the thought makes a beacon that drives you and others to more regard straightforward correspondence, and at last, more joyful and additional fantastic connections, rather than building walls. Review that. Making limits empowers you to carry on with a life whole of inward opportunity, regard, and peacefulness. It's a demonstration of self-esteem. Number 13. Keep in mind, you control your responses. Responses envision yourself in a savage tempest, with the manner in which west crushing around you and the breeze tearing, albeit the tempests. Anger is unchangeable. As far as you might be concerned, you can decide to deal with it. This strong relationship encapsulates the 13th apathetic strategy to recollect that you are accountable for your reactions and not the occasions around you. The Stoics advise us that genuine strength comes from overwhelming our inward world, as opposed to applying force over the rest of the world.
Epicus states, "It is a disgrace for the spirit to rely upon the body for fulfillment. We gain internal quiet in spite of life storms by focusing on our responses, which we have some control over." Here's how you foster this superpower of emotionlessness. Figure out what triggers you. Perceive your close-to-home territory. Contemplate the conditions or exercises that, as a rule, cause you to feel awful. Are there certain expressions, or individuals that get under your skin? The most vital phase in controlling these triggers is recognizing them. Pause for a minute to inhale. Make room between the improvement and the reaction. Choose to stand by. Prior to following up without much forethought, breathe in profoundly. Also, give yourself space to notice and assess the conditions unobtrusively. This gives you space to pursue purposeful choices and holds your feelings back from controlling what you do. Shift your perspective, alter the viewpoint, not the realities. Our responses are, as often as possible, impacted more by how we decipher circumstances than their genuine event. Analyze different perspectives and face your programmed convictions. Could what is happening at any point be settled? What beneficial things are you ready to focus on? Selecting your response cautiously. Respond. Don't respond after you've gathered yourself and changed your perspective. Consider your choices cautiously prior to answering. Does it assist you with responding with fury or disappointment with being made? And forceful work, better review, that you can intensify or de-escalate the circumstance relying upon how you answer. Practice figuring out how to control your responses is a cycle that takes time and exertion, very much like some other capacity. It takes steady practice by trying different things with changed reactions in testing circumstances. You can logically expand your close-to-home versatility and restraint. You don't become tame when you embrace this unemotional thought. You gain strength. You figure out how to brave life's tempests with fortitude and effortlessness, finding inward harmony in vanquishing your responses as opposed to attempting to overwhelm the rest of the world. Review that serene control over your viewpoints and sentiments is the veritable trial of solidarity, not control from without. In this way, keep a cool head under tension, make wise choices, and face life storms with the unflinching balance of the emotionless sage. These unemotional, motivated methods can assist you with diverting conflict from a position of battling into one of picking up understanding and internal quiet review that the genuine victory is certainly not about overcoming your rival, yet about controlling your sentiments and turning into a more grounded, more sure form of yourself.